Hey everybody. So we're looking at the 19.3 lesson for finding surface area of pyramids and cones. All right. The first distinction I want to make about this lesson is when we go to look at this formula, what we're going to be using is instead of the actual height of our pyramid or cone, we're going to be using what's called the slant height. And basically, you can think of it as the height, but going up the side of our shape. It's slanted. All right, so go ahead and copy this title, get this picture here, and then we'll look at the formula. Okay, so yeah, here is the formula for surface area of a pyramid. Here it is, surface area equals capital B, area of the base, plus 1/2 of the perimeter of the base times slant height. And the way they represent slant height is just a lowercase l. Okay, so go ahead, take a second and get this, and we'll dig into it. Okay, so yeah, that capital B, just like all of these formulas, area of the base, that shape of the base will change depending on what we have as far as our pyramid's concerned. Okay, the perimeter of the base is still adding up all of its side lengths, and again, the slant height is that height going up the side of the shape. Okay, so let's try one out. Okay, go ahead, copy this shape here, and we'll find its surface area. Okay, so one thing to point out, surface area of a regular pyramid. Remember, when they call something regular, what they're telling us is that all of the side lengths of the base are the same length. So they're telling me that the side length right here is 2. That means all of them are 2. Okay, that's what they mean by regular. Okay, so yeah, first things first, let's go ahead and write out our formula here. Again, a little reminder, surface area equals area of the base plus 1/2 perimeter times slant height. All right, before we do anything, we got to plug in that formula for the area of the base. All right, on this problem, our base, you probably noticed, is this 6-sided hexagon. All right, and we've done this quite a few times, but I always like to do these because these are, I think, are the weirdest. Okay, but you guys remember what we do is we basically break this thing into 6 triangles. Okay, if we can find the area of one of these triangles, we can multiply it by the number of sides, and we can get the area of the whole thing. All right, so when we go to do this, let's just write out 1/2 base times height, that's the area of this triangle, and then times the number of sides of that base, which is going to be 6. Okay, and then plus 1/2 times the perimeter of the base times slant height. Okay, so let's plug these values in. Surface area equals 1/2 times the base of the triangle is this right here. Remember, they are all 2, so the base of it is 2 times the height of the triangle is a 1.7 plus 1/2 times the perimeter. Remember, that's adding up all 6 sides of this 6-sided base. So, if you wanted to do that in your head, 2 times 6 would give you a 12. I wouldn't mind if you just put 12 in here, though you can show 2 plus 2 plus 2 6 times. I'm just going to put a 12. Okay, and then times the slant height, which we are given that height going up the side of the pyramid, 7. Okay, so yeah, let's type this in. Okay, so I'm going to follow exactly how I wrote it out with parentheses and everything. So 1/2 and then times 2 times 1.7, bringing my way out, plus, and then again, I'm going to use parentheses, which I put at 12. Oh, sorry, I forgot the 1/2. Ooh, big deal. All right, so sorry, erase that. So 1/2, there we go. And then times 12, and then times 7. Okay, so obviously be careful. I almost messed up myself, but I'm getting 43.7. All right, and just as always, we'll round to the nearest tenths, which that thing already is. So 43.7. Surface area is in units squared, so meters squared. Okay, cool. And that's, the surface area. Remember, that's all about the outside of the shape. If we were to cover this thing in wrapping paper, that's how much it would take. Okay, so let's take a look at one more before I have you guys try one. All right, let's take a look at this pyramid right here. Go ahead and draw that picture. Okay, so first things first, surface area equals area of the base plus 1/2 of the perimeter times slant height. All right. First things first, this is still a regular pyramid, and that means all of the side lengths of that base are the same length. They're all 24. All right. So this thing is a square on the bottom. To find the area of a square, base times height. Okay. Plus 1/2 of the perimeter. We'll eventually plug that in times the slant height. Okay. So now let's plug in our numbers here. All right, the base and the height of my square base, now there it is. The base would be 24. Its height would be 24. So 24 times 24. If it helps to write in the 24s, you could always do that. Okay, plus 1/2 of the perimeter, which is, adding up all four sides. So 24 added to itself 4 times. And again, if you wanted to do that math, 24 times 4, you could always write that number in instead. All right, and then here's the thing, times the slant height. If you guys notice, this problem is not giving us slant height. It's actually giving us the height of the pyramid. What we need to find is this thing, the slant height going up the side of our pyramid. All right, so here's the question. How do we do it? All right, well, here's what we got to do. We got to think of this slant height and height and connect them right here. And what we can actually do is create a right triangle, okay, kind of inside of our pyramid. All right, and finding the missing side of a right triangle, we can use the Pythagorean theorem. All right, we have one of the sides, obviously we're finding slant height, so that's going to be what my x value. Okay, the question is what's the length of this side here? Okay, well, remember, that's going from the center to the outside. So if the entire side length is 24, this is going to be half, 12. Okay, so there's my Pythagorean theorem stuff. So let's do this off to the side. C squared equals a squared plus b squared. Okay, the hypotenuse is actually what we're looking for. That's x. A and b are 12 and 16. Okay, so let's see. I'm just going to grab my own calculator and do this math here. So 12 squared is 144. Okay, 16 squared is 256. So adding those together, I'm getting 400. So x squared equals 400, which when we go to take the square root of 400, it's a nice perfect square. You can probably do it in your head. It's going to be 20, right? Okay, so there's my missing side right there. Let's maybe scribble it out, 20. Okay, and that is my slant height that I need to plug in over here. All right, so just be careful. These problems, if they don't give you slant height, almost 100% of the time, you're going to just have to use Pythagorean theorem to find it. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and plug in all this information. All right, so we got, let's see, 24. Actually, I'm going to put it in parentheses just in case. So 24 times 24 out here plus 1 over 2, moving it inside the parentheses. I'm just going to go ahead and add all these 24s up. So 24 added to itself 4 times, and then outside, my slant height we figured out was 20. Okay, so 1536. And units, yards. So yards squared. Okay, cool. So I'm going to have you guys try out one of these on your own. Okay, just to kind of point out, it looks a lot like the last problem, but do notice they are giving you slant height here. So no Pythagorean theorem is going to be necessary on this problem. Just go ahead and plug in your values into your surface area formula, and then you can go from there. Okay, so go ahead, give it a try. Okay, so first things first, we know that the base of this thing, again, is a square. All 4 sides are, the same. So I know base times height is going to give me 4 times 4. So I'm going to actually skip a step here because we're getting kind of good at this. We know the area is base times height, 4 times 4. Okay, plus 1/2 of the perimeter. Perimeter adding up all 4 sides. You can probably do that in your head. 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 is going to give me a 16. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that addition, write it as a 16. Okay, times the slant height, 6. Okay, so just doing, I guess, a little bit of simplifying, or really we can, when we go to type it in, we know that's going to be a 16, right? So let's just go ahead and type that into our calculator. 16 plus 1/2 times 16 times 6. 16 plus 1/2 times 16, oops, and then times 6. That was a 6, right? Yeah, so it looks like we're getting 64. So 64 yards squared. All right, just want to point out, I skipped a couple steps on this. Just be careful, all right? Because the base was such a simple shape, I felt comfortable doing that. If this was a weirder shape, you know, like a pentagon or hexagon, I would definitely write everything out like we normally do. Okay, so there is another part to this lesson because the other thing we got to look at is finding the surface area of a cone. All right, cones are defined by having circular bases. So when we go to plug in those values, area of the base is always going to be pi r squared, circumference instead of perimeter, right? 2 pi r. So go ahead and copy this. I'll say a couple more things. Okay, so yeah, like I said, area of the base, because it's a circle, will always be pi r squared. Circumference is always 2 pi r. You know, hopefully you have that memorized, but if not, definitely get that in your notes just to remind yourself that's what those values are. Okay, but yeah, everything's about the same. Again, slant height is the height going up the side of the shape as opposed to the actual height, which is this guy that's at a 90 degree to the radius. Okay, so let's try this out. Okay, go ahead and copy this. Okay, so surface area equals area of the base. I'm going to go ahead and plug in that formula, which is pi r squared plus 1/2 times circumference, which is 2 pi r, times slant height. Okay, remember on these, and I guess not remember, but it's just like the other ones, we just need the radius of our circle and the slant height. If you guys take a look, we have both things. Okay, so we can go ahead and just plug in numbers on this. Okay, so we got pi 5 squared plus 1/2 of 2 pi 5 times slant height 11. Okay, so yeah, let's go ahead and try this out. Okay, so again, in parentheses, where'd it go? There we go. I'm going to do pi r squared, so sorry about that. Pi 5 squared. Let me reset this. It's not doing it in real time. Pi 5 squared. Okay, and then plus 1/2, and then in parentheses 2 pi r times the slant height 11. Right, so it looks like we're getting 251.32, so that 3 is going to stay a 3, so 251.3. All right, and units squared. Okay, so yeah, last thing, I'm going to have you guys go ahead and try out one of these cone problems on your own. Here's the big thing I want to point out. On this problem, they're giving us radius, which is nice, but this 24 value is not the slant height, it is the height. Okay, what we need to figure out is the slant height. All right, and you guys can see obviously here we have another right triangle. So maybe the first thing you might want to do is use the Pythagorean theorem and find this slant height here. Remember, you're going to be plugging that x in for your c value because it's the hypotenuse of the right triangle. Okay, so go ahead and do that and then plug it into the formula. Okay, so yeah, just starting with the Pythagorean theorem, let's go ahead and do it. My c value is x. A and b, I'm going to 724. Remember, those are interchangeable, doesn't really matter. All right, so let's see, x squared equals 7 squared is 49, 24 squared, let's see, is 576. Okay, add those together, and we're getting that x squared equals 625. Okay, last thing, taking the square root of it, square root of 625, oops, is 25. Okay, so there it is, 25. There's our slant height right there. So scroll out, 25. Cool. Now let's go ahead and plug this stuff into our formula. Surface area equals area of the base is a circle, so pi r squared, and let's go ahead and just plug in r. So pi 7 squared plus 1/2 times circumference 2 pi 7 times slant height we just figured out was 25. Okay, so yeah, let's see what we got. All right, so let's see, pi 7 squared plus 1/2, move the cursor, times, in parentheses, 2 pi 7, move it out, and then times the slant height, 25. So I'm getting 703.71, so 703.7. Okay, so my hope is that you guys are getting really comfortable with this. These formulas, even though they're all slightly different, they all follow the same rules. If you can find the area of the base and you know how to get the perimeter, Pythagorean theorem is used ever so often. It's really just the fundamentals. And the only thing that changes from problem to problem, as far as when we're looking at all of these different solids, is these formulas just subtly change. Okay, so yeah, there's the lesson, guys. We'll see you in class.